have got, I think it was playing tonight actually, Lee Cook. Unfortunately not playing for QPR, but we're going to talk to him about QPR. Good evening, Lee.
Hi mate, you alright?
I'm fine, thanks very much for joining us. I think the first thing I wanted to ask you is that in the Sun we've got Harry in quit threat, and in the Mirror we've got QPR U-turn on deal for Harry. Which one do you think's true?
Well, I heard obviously a few weeks back that there was a new contract on the table. Now, obviously there was truth in it because it's come out that is the truth, but I was quite surprised by that myself, that they were going to offer him one. So now I'm thinking that maybe he's thinking I've made a mistake in offering it. That's all I can think it is. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, did you get a chance to see the game against West Ham? I mean, from my point of view, there's just no fight, and there's no, I don't know, they're just look a team of strangers at the moment.
I think Gary Neville summed it up perfectly when he said it just looks like the players are just out there going through the motions, just jogging about and just earning their money. I think that was the best way to kind of explain it, because you know, even no one was putting a tackle in that was meaning anything that was going to get the team going. It was just as if they were just strolling about. Yeah, let's get the game done, then we can get off home and go and chill out in our houses. That's what it seems like.
And from your point of view, obviously you played in the team that done really well and played in the team that didn't do so well. What's the atmosphere like in the dressing room when you're losing all the time? And do you think everyone's got to sort of come together at some point and have some serious discussions about how to pull it back and start winning games?
Yeah, I mean, near the end of my time there at QPR, I was in that changing room when Mark Hughes took over, and it was a similar situation where it was constant defeats down the bottom of the league, and it weren't a good place. That's one of the worst change rooms I've been in. Players were distant, they didn't get on, they weren't talking to each other. It was just a nightmare. I don't think that's the situation at the minute. I think it's not that bad, but the more games you lose, it could get that way.
And in terms of, where do you think it's not working? I mean, obviously, in terms of, we've only got one striker, that's obviously not helping. Defensively, I was making the point that if Ferdinand was playing for Man United and that goal was conceded, he would have been right in the referee's ear. And to me, there was no appealing against the handball. There was no, and I was very surprised by that.
We talked about it last time I was on the show about the forward situation, and Remy was still at the club at the time. Do you remember us having this conversation? And then he left, and then we thought, oh well, if he leaves, we're 100% going to sign someone. I mean, we didn't bring anyone in, and from that day forward, after that deadline day, I sat there at home at night and I thought, we are banging trouble here, banging trouble. We've got Charlie on his own and Bobby to come in, and that's all we've got. That's the only firepower we really had, and I still think that's going to haunt them to this day, and not spending some money and bringing a decent enough centre forward in to help the team, and that's what's happened. And again, we've gone away to West Ham Saturday, gone with a 4-5-1, which doesn't suit us at all. We've never been a 4-5-1 team ever.
No.
And that's just the way it is in a minute.
I remember singing "We Only Win with Two Up Front" when John Gregory was there. But anyway, in terms of another player which is a bit of an enigma, and I obviously he's not the kind of manager who put his arm around Adel Taarabt, but he's not the player that he was, and that's disappointing from my point of view, because I thought when he went up under Warnock, he was really top player.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for him coming back after he's gone and played in Italy for AC Milan, and now he can't get a game for QPR, you know, and he's that type of personality where he'll be thinking, I'm better than this, I shouldn't be here, because that's the personality he is. So it's a difficult one with Adel. You know, if Harry was to put his arm around him, give him a few games, and say, look, you're part of my plans, then I think you'd see a different player. He's one of them type of players where you need to put your arm around him, and at the minute he's not getting that.
And obviously we've got some hard games coming up. I mean, we spoke before and we said we fear for the season. Do we fear? Are we still fearing?
Pete, I've said I speak to my friends about it all the time, and it was the biggest conversation I had with them was after the deadline day, and you know, everyone was enthusiastic because you've got to be as a fan. I said to them, I said, look, we've got no firepower. There's none at all. We can't, you know, even when we're playing one up front, you can't expect Charlie's not going to get 15 to 20 goals. No. Especially if you're playing just up front on your own. And I don't know if there's an emergency loan. Can you do that or not? Can they try?
You can do it. What you can do a loan for a player that's not, you know, is out of contract, but that's basically it. I don't think you can do an emergency loan. I'd love to be in a position to emergency loan for a striker.
Mostly for goalkeepers, isn't it?
Yeah, for goalkeepers. You can certainly loan a player who's out of contract, but that doesn't leave many options. Rebecca, I'd like to ask please.
Yeah, Lee, you said that the QPR players are just sort of going through the motions and not really, the hearts aren't really in it. One of the guys on the panel here made the comment that kind of attitude filters down from the top. Does that mean then that Redknapp is just going through the motions as well and that he's not really that bothered about his job?
Well, he come out with a comment as well saying he don't think the team were fit enough. So I look at that and I think, well, surely that's down to you. If the team's not fit enough, you're the manager. You're the one that gets them fit. You're the one that's at training every day with them, and you get them fit. So I couldn't understand that comment.
So it's yeah, in terms of like just building on that frustration with Redknapp, you know, who's complaining that Remy left, but you always knew with his contractual situation, and he's a great player, you always knew he was going to go. So I absolutely would repeat your frustrations. I can't believe they did not get a quality striker in.
Too late.
I said that a few weeks ago on the programme that if you don't keep like Remy, you guys are dead. You look at the situation in Redknapp, is that the bottom line that what I'm looking at in Harry Redknapp is that tactically he's not the best. But one thing that always was Redknapp's strength is that he was a great motivator, don't you think?
That is good man.
Don't you think that, Lee? That he was a great motivator of players. Like when he was at Portsmouth about 8 years ago, he managed to turn a certain relegation into getting them up the table. And I thought he'd be like that at QPR, but something just isn't right.
I mean, even last year, you know, that's what he was doing because, you know, any fan you speak to, QPR fan, last year weren't great. We weren't playing good football. No. We were scraping through performances. We were nicking 1-0s week in, week out. And to be fair, we were lucky to go up. But when you're in that situation, you do go. You think, right, we've been fortunate. I'm going to do something about it, and I'm going to change a lot of things. And nothing else has changed.
And you talk about the dressing room, Lee, before you go. When you're sort of down there, and you said with Mark Hughes, did you find? I mean, you played under a lot of managers at QPR. Did you find the ones that are under that kind of pressure? Do they keep more distance to the players? Do they try to get you more motivated? I mean, obviously the pressure's on them. But how did you find the managers under that kind of pressure?
Well, they all handled it differently. Hughes was one that did keep himself distant. He didn't really want to get involved in it much. He would hardly come out to the training ground. He had Eddie to take most of it, and he was kind of staying away from it. Even though he was making the signings, he was taking responsibility for the signings and giving out the dough. You know, that was his problem. Each manager handles it differently. I'm not there at the minute. I can't see day-to-day training and how he's dealing with it. But something needs to be done because I can't see where the next point's coming from.
Do you think that Les Ferdinand being brought in, the backroom staff, might help a little bit?
Yeah, I just think that helps because of who he is and, you know, the aura that he has, and that's just going to give a boost to the players. He's obviously worked with a few of them before, your Cranchars and people like that who was at Tottenham when he was there. So let's just hope Sir Les can put a bit of QPR magic into the forwards and try and get some more goals because we are struggling, aren't we?
And in terms of Harry Redknapp, I mean, how long do you think we will give it before we have to make the change? I mean, would you say Christmas? Would you say November? If we're still where we are, I mean.
It's an hard one to say. Yeah. That's an hard question, mate. I mean, I suppose you take it in bunches of games, and I think you've got to look at the next 4 games and then see where we are, I suppose.
Okay. All right, well, we've got Liverpool next, so that should be tasty. Thanks very much indeed. In terms of, we are giving teams grades for the season so far. I suppose the grade, if it was a school grade, would be quite low, wouldn't it?
Well, look, I'm getting back to me spaghetti bolognese because I'm starving hungry. I've just played a game of football and I'm starving.
Okay, all right. Cheers very much indeed, Lee.
Fair enough.
Ta-da.
Ta-da.